Welcome back. You're now watching the political segment on the Weekend Show. On today's episode of the Weekend Show, the political segment, we'll be discussing the 2023 presidential elections, and we'll get straight to it. In the last 7 days, a couple of people from the APC, the current ruling party, specifically former Governor of Lagos State, Governor Bola Tinubu, met with the president to indicate interest in running for the position of the president of Nigeria. Also, the governor of Ebonyi State, Umahi, has also signified interest. It's also been alleged that the current vice president may also be in the running. With less than 14 months to the 2023 presidential elections, Nigerians and Nigeria has woken up to the fact that we will be having a new president, and what are the issues which we should focus on, the individuals, their ideologies, and their antecedents. Having this conversation with me in the studio, we do have Ilemona Onoja, a lawyer, and a return guest of the show. Welcome back to the
Thank you so much for having me, Andy.
And Kola Alapini, an international human rights lawyer.
Thanks.
Welcome to the Weekend Show. Ilemona, let's start with you. We've had about 6-7 years of the current administration, and a lot of things have happened in Nigeria. Something which I've seen a lot of conversations about is the banning of Twitter for 7 months, and political players who show that they have the interest in Nigeria kept quiet about it, regardless of the legality or illegality of it. All of a sudden, 2 days ago, former Governor of Lagos State, Bola Tinubu, was on Twitter talking about how it's vital and important to business. PDP aspirant, President Atiku, has also released a statement of sorts. So it's election season, and wonders are happening. Everybody is awake and alive now, which is important but interesting. What's your take on the declarations which we've had in the last week?
Nothing inspiring, to be honest, and it's not much to be expected from that. The hope that I've come to believe that a lot of Nigerians have is something rapidly different from the last 7 years. Over the last couple of weeks, what we have seen in terms of the quality of the people within the APC who have declared an intention to run for the office of president has been nothing inspiring, to be very honest. And it is for a variety of reasons. A lot of these people supported or have supported, have lent credence or credibility, their personal credence, credibility, support and all that, for the epic failure, for the wasted 7 years that we've experienced since 2015. I haven't seen anything that they have done or have said that shows that there will be a remarkable departure from that in their vision for the future. If anything, the former governor of Lagos State, Asiwaju Bola Tinubu, said he wants to build on the legacies of President Muhammadu Buhari. That was very alarming to hear, because that legacy has been one of failure. It has been one of strife. It has been one that leaves behind it in its wake a trail of record unemployment, record economic failure, record security issues, record disunity. And you want to build on that? I don't see how anybody, in the words of Fela, the legacy of President Muhammadu Buhari over the last 7 years has been one of sorrow, tears, and blood. So and I don't see how you want to build on
while you are on that, you are affiliated to the People's Democratic Party. And some say at least there is a move where in the APC, people are coming out to declare their intention. It's less than 14 months to the next election. The People's Democratic Party is still skirting around. We are just hearing rumors and words on the street. Now, there are some names which have come up, like former Vice President Atiku, former Senate President Bukola Saraki, Bala Mohammed Tambuwal, amongst some others, from pious and impious. But at least the APC, we now have people stepping up to say we are running. And regardless of what you say they have failed in, the opposition party doesn't seem to be doing so much. You as an individual, you've been vocal about Nigeria and for your party, but the opposition party, which is PDP, doesn't seem to be doing so much compared to the fact that these other party, they're now coming out to even speak up. So how are we sure that the PDP will do better?
There's credence to, and I'll pick off with your last statement, with an answer to your last question. How are we sure that the PDP will do better? Antecedents, I guess. It's historical. And we must pay attention to history in 2023. If we had paid attention to history in 2015, we wouldn't have been stuck with the disaster that has been President Muhammadu Buhari. At its lowest, at its worst, at its most big grammar, discombobulated, the People's Democratic Party did more for this country than APC ever has, ever will, or is doing currently. At its lowest. And this is not just my opinion, it's statistical. There are developmental indices awash all over the world that indicate economically we were a much better country under the PDP, that we grew better, that we had a larger focus. Now, whenever I say this, people seem to think that the insinuation is that the People's Democratic Party did not make mistakes. Oh, there were mistakes made in the past, and things could have been done better. But it is a statistically undeniable fact that Nigerians, the quality of life, the welfare and the well-being of the Nigerian was significantly better between 1999 and 2015 than it has been since 2015 up until now in 2022.
We'll come back to that.
I would like to I'd like to finally answer the question that you asked first about the fact that a lot of people in People's Democratic Party, it doesn't seem like a lot of people are going to run. But we do know that a lot of people are going to run. I can say categorically that at least one person that I know, I know that Bala Mohammed has declared his intention to run. Yes. I know that Vice President Atiku Abubakar, former Vice President Atiku Abubakar, has been putting a structure in place. I know that my mentor, Dr. Bukola Saraki, is definitely going to run an inspiring campaign aiming to ask Nigerians to vote for a rapid departure from the last 7 years. And I can say this categorically, there's nobody on the PDP roster that could possibly declare an intention to run for the office of president that won't offer us more than anybody on the APC roster.
We'll come back to that. Kola, you've heard him. One of the reasons why this is a conversation is that we've seen some rapid changes which Nigerians have been asking for a while. All of a sudden in January, people have been asking for bandits to be declared as terrorists. Now in January, it's now been gazetted. Twitter was suspended for 7 months, and all of a sudden that suspension has been lifted. The APC has started, people have started coming forward to say they want to run. What's your take on all of this?
Okay, I'll start with Twitter. I'm actually a member of the legal team that challenged the government at the ECOWAS court regarding the Twitter ban. I think it was unfortunate that we had a reversal to 1984 by banning Twitter. It reminded us of what happened when journalists at the Guardian newspapers were hauled into jail and, for criticizing a military government. When, and also I must add that it's unfortunate really that we found ourselves in this position. I can't believe that I am agreeing with everything that my colleague has just said. It's unfortunate because there was a reason for APC coming in, the campaign on the mantra of change. People were fed up, seemingly, with 16 years of profligacy, which the PDP had done. We seemed to be corrupt. You can see what has happened with the campaign by this government going after various people who had taken money on the PDP. If you remember, the Office of National Security Advisor, where they were just sharing money, so to speak. These were the reasons why people thought a General Buhari would do different. But unfortunately, It's even done worse than it did in 1984. And that's why I said, I can't believe that I found myself in a position, and many others, agreeing with what my colleague has just said. Because it seemed as if we had a better quality of life under PDP. I mean, when you juxtapose it, Naira was stronger. How much was the Naira exchanging for the dollar when the president came in, the incumbent president? So when you look at all these indices, we wonder, how did we find ourselves here? And were we not better? It's like our case is like the man who chased away his first wife and married another one and ended up, with an even more vicious partner. This government seems not to brook opposition, criticism, and how can democracy thrive in such an environment? And we now, I don't have any, I'm not a member of the political party anyway, so I'm free to speak as I
Yes,
wish.
please.
Without casting aspersion on Ashwaju, he's always had the knack of picking the right people and for various positions. And people look back at what he did in Lagos, the model, the sustainability. Do we want someone who is in 70s or close to 70 again as president of the Federal Republic of Nigeria? People talk about his health, going abroad and, trying to fix himself up. That's neither here or there. We battled with an incumbent president who had been ill for years and refused to disclose what's wrong with him. When you talk about the vice president, with rumors saying he's going to come out, even if he is a capable man for the job, I, as a colleague, he's a senior colleague anyway, find it difficult to accept that we had a professor of law, a Leonard Silk, in this government with the kind of atrocities that have been committed on human rights. If you look at some of his record, when the incumbent was ill and was abroad, and he was acting president, you could say that, he did very well. He nipped we had our own insurrection at the National Assembly, remember?
Yes.
Where the DSS stormed there and prevented people from coming in. He quickly removed the director of the DSS. He was all over the country. We didn't have all these, what do they call them? The Fulani herdsman issue all just seemed to disappear because it would seem from the body language of the president, he gave tacit approval, not even tacit, explicit approval, because he keeps talking about grazing routes in Nigeria in 2021, 2022. We're talking about Ruga, so that emboldened the Fulani herdsmen. When he was abroad and Professor Yemi Osinbajo was in charge, all that disappeared. So you could say he had a unifying spirit, seemingly knowledgeable, he's eloquent, he can hold his own at international conferences and all. But how do you justify his silence in the face of all these atrocities against human rights? It's indefensible, coming from his constituency, which is law.
So it's interesting that, and also quite fair that you've mentioned some antecedents of Asiwaju Tinubu and Osinbajo. Talking about younger people, we also have Yahaya Bello, who has indicated interest last year. But
also Dele Momodu has come
Momodu,
back again.
but yes, I think
Mohalu has come out again. I don't know if Fela Durotoye is going to come out.
So this is my question.
Yes.
What are we looking for if, at this point, some antecedents are being pushed away? So are we looking at ideology of the party? Are we looking at the people, what they have to offer, what they have done? What should Nigerians look for in the next
First and
election?
foremost, a lot of people coming out for the presidency have no business running for presidency. Some of them can't even win the awards. Fela Durotoye lost in VGC. Even the vice president lost in VGC. Okay. What did Mohalu get the last time? I think some of these people are better suited for the National Assembly. House of Reps, for instance, go there, contribute to debates, scholarly debates, that is. Let's see what you can do. And then you build fences all over the country. I think a lot of them should do that, okay? It's not just in declaring, to my mind, I think when people come out and say they want to run for presidency and all that, they just want to be in the buzz and probably when positions are being shared. They can say, okay.
So before I go to them, now, what should we look for in
there has to be a
candidates?
reinvigorating discussion. There's no difference between the APC and PDP. That's why they just keep cross-carpeting. I'm sorry.
Let's let him round up,
He's my
I'll come
colleague.
to-
He's my colleague.
And I
said,
lawyers.
yes, and I said earlier that I'm surprised, unfortunately, that I've had to agree with a lot of his position, which is stated earlier, when you compare how life was on the PDP with what we have in APC. That was what I started with. If there is a difference in ideology, why do people keep crisscrossing the carpet at the National Assembly?
So we need to change the conversation and have more crucial conversations.
Yes, because you can hardly find a member of the Labour Party in the United Kingdom crossing over to being a conservative.
Good.
And in the United States, it's very rare for you to find a Democrat saying, I'm no longer a Democrat,
Because I
I'm
need to
becoming a
go
Republican.
back. Sorry for cutting you short, but because of time, I need to come back to you, Lemona. Before you interject, your mentor and someone you support, Bukola Saraki,
Yes, please.
has gone from party to party. Has gone from the APC to PDP and back, from the PDP to the APC and back to the PDP. Former Vice President Atiku Abubakar has also switched. And so it also is in line with what he's saying and what Nigerians are saying, that these are the same people and it's just for their personal interest and not Nigeria. And so what do you have to say to this, and what should Nigerians look forward to in 2 minutes?
I'll answer that question very quickly. Because he made that switch, I think that Dr. Bukola Saraki is one of the best people to answer the question about whether the two political parties are different. Because he made that switch. I remember in 2018, when he was going back to the PDP and he said he was coming home, one of the things he said is how the PDP had learned more from its election loss in 2015 than the APC had learned from its victory in that year. And he was able to talk about how there's a more consensus, nation-building approach to governance, how there are differences in economic ideologies, how one supports small businesses and the other supports big government, how one supports has a more credible human rights record than the other, how one has contributed more to the building and development of institutions across the country than the other, how one constantly believes in a handshake across the Niger than the other. And we've always been able to elucidate differences, the fundamental differences in the approach. The PDP wants to empower the small business person to do business and to grow. The APC wants to shut that down with regulation, with more regulation and with more activity to the government. I can give you an example. I do not believe that if President Muhammadu Buhari became president in 1999, that we would have had our telco revolution, if you will. Instead, what we would have had was a continuation of NITEL and all its inefficiencies. And I am a NITEL baby, so I would know that. But that immediately shows you a difference in the approach to government. One is let's liberalize this sector, bring in major players. I'll give you another example. On the Lagos-Ibadan Expressway, Dr. Bukola Saraki kept saying, let's take private equity to make sure that this road is done better and quicker, right? And we'll take a private equity approach to infrastructure so that we free up funds for social projects. It's a very different approach from what the APC is taking. Now, to come directly to the answer for your question, what kind of president should Nigerians be looking for? We should be looking for someone who's a bridge between the young and the old. Someone who realizes that our young people constitute the lifeblood of our economy. We're significantly a greater majority, but the older people have more access to resources. When you need to build a bridge between the two to ensure just and fair representation. You need a bridge between the North and the South. Two regions of people who currently don't trust themselves, right? We need a bridge between between liberalism and conservatism. Somebody who understands both. I could go on. You need somebody who's urbane, who's educated, who understands that our people, with their character, their creativity, are the future. And
Edemona, I know you're passionate about Nigeria and Kola. What stands out the most here is that this isn't self-seeking. People want an improved and better Nigeria. And we will definitely bring both of you on this segment again to continue this conversation, because this is just an introduction to the 2023 election. But I want to thank you, Edemona and Kola, for this, and we'll definitely bring you back. This is the much we can take so far, but you can follow us on social media at The Weekend Show on Facebook, Instagram, and finally Twitter. You can also follow me on social media, Andy Madaki. Asasu Igbinidian as well will be back with us soon. But signing us out, we do have a special performance. Please enjoy this and have a blessed week.
Of the same, the name of the Lord be praised. He's the lifter of my head and the joy and peace within, deliverer, mighty warrior. Ganina nazo agareka imaka sujada. Oh, ganina nazo agareka dua kariabo. Ganina nazo agareka imaka sujada.